Hello, friends. So, Donald Trump is back at it again, creating a stir. He's made a rather startling statement, none other than that Vladimir Putin, yes, the president of Russia, the arch nemesis of the USA right now, wants to meet with him. And not just meet, but he's eager to have some serious discussions. This meeting is set to happen very soon, which of course has sent the world into a frenzy. What could they possibly be talking about, you ask? Well, it's not just small talk. There are two major issues on the table. First up, the Russia-Ukraine war. Now, this is something Trump has been vocal about throughout his campaign. His statements on the matter have gone viral, and no doubt this issue will dominate the agenda when he meets with Putin. But it's not just war talk. There's also the issue of gas pipelines, which, as we all know, has had a massive impact on the global economy. These are the two priorities Trump needs to tackle with Putin, and it's clear he's trying to make a big splash. Let's dive into this a bit deeper. Trump has already hinted that on January 20th, once he takes office, his first meeting will be with Vladimir Putin. Can you imagine? After all the talk during his campaign about restoring America's lost glory, rebuilding its international presence, and using personal relationships with world leaders to make things happen, this is where the rubber hits the road. He's not just blowing smoke. Trump is saying, hey, I've got connections, I've got the relationships, and I'm going to use them to make America great again. Whether you like him or not, you can't deny that he's been a master of playing the diplomatic game. Now, let's take a trip down memory lane. During his campaign, Trump made it clear that he had personal relationships with world leaders, from Prime Minister Modi of India to, yes, Putin. He didn't hesitate to call Putin a very good friend. And you know Putin, he has a way of enjoying these compliments, throwing a wink here and there, making you wonder if he's really taking these statements seriously or just enjoying the show. And Trump, well, he's not just talking about these relationships. He's been very clear that if he becomes president again, he plans to rebuild America's lost glory. After all, the USA is no longer the global giant it once was. We've seen defeat after defeat, from Afghanistan to the Middle East to Africa. So the big question is, how will Trump plan to restore that glory? The answer apparently is by leveraging his personal relationships with leaders like Putin. So Trump's been making promises, and if you know anything about US politics, you know that promises aren't just words, they're expectations. Every 4 years, Americans watch closely to see if candidates live up to their promises. And let's not forget, Joe Biden's tenure has been, to put it mildly, less than spectacular. His promises have fallen flat, which is why people are hoping Trump will come through with what he's said. But wait, Trump's not just making empty promises. He's taking action. He's already put plans in motion, talking with Republican governors and setting up the framework for the meeting with Putin. The agenda is already clear: Russia-Ukraine, gas pipelines, and a few other important points. Trump has made it clear that he's ready to sit down with Putin and make some things happen. Now let's talk about the real meat of this matter: the war in Ukraine. Trump has always been critical of Biden's handling of the war. He said time and again that Biden would never resolve the conflict. And here's the kicker: Trump is confident he can solve it. In fact, he claims that he could settle the war in 24 hours. Yes, you read that right, 24 hours. Of course, we all know that this might be an exaggeration. Still, if Trump can pull off a resolution within a month, it would be nothing short of a major achievement. But what's really interesting is how much of an impact this could have on the next Republican election. If Trump resolves the Russia-Ukraine war, it could be his crowning achievement. Imagine the headlines: Trump solves Russia-Ukraine war in less than a month. That would be huge, and Republicans would be looking at this as their ticket to victory. Now, let's shift gears a bit and address something that's often overlooked in these political discussions: the aftermath of war. You see, the real battle starts after the war ends. Once the dust settles, the country that's been devastated, in this case Ukraine, will have to rebuild its economy. This is where the true challenge lies. Can Ukraine recover from the devastation? And how much support will they get from Western nations? With a new government in the UK and some uncertainty in France, the question remains, how much help will Ukraine actually receive? And then there's Trump. He's not exactly Ukraine's biggest fan, especially when it comes to President Zelensky. There's some personal animosity there, and it's no secret that Trump doesn't have much time for him. So, will Trump provide the level of support Ukraine desperately needs? The answer at this point is unclear. And then we have the issue of NATO. How far will NATO go to help Ukraine? How much will the EU step in? These are questions that Ukraine is likely asking themselves right now. And unfortunately, the answers aren't very clear. So, in summary, Trump is working his diplomatic magic, preparing for a major meeting with Putin that could change the course of world politics. Whether or not the war will end in 24 hours remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, Trump isn't afraid to make big promises. And if he can deliver, it will be a major feather in his cap, especially with the upcoming election in the rearview mirror. Now we're left to wonder, what will the world look like after this meeting? Will Trump actually be able to pull off a deal with Putin? And how will Ukraine fare in all of this? These are questions that only time will answer. So stay tuned, because if Trump and Putin get together, it's going to be one heck of a political roller coaster.